Welcome back, YouTube. Today I'm bringing you a tutorial on how to make an epic landscape photo out of an image that I shot in Italy on my 3-week honeymoon. Cue that intro music. I don't have intro music. That's awkward. So now that we got that all intros out of the way and everything, now that the intro is out of the way, why don't we jump into the photo here. We'll open up Lightroom and I'll show you you can see all these photos here that I've got taken, but you can actually see this photo right here, and it's a pretty sweet shot that I took on top of a mountain. And what we'll do is we'll take the before photo, and this is going to be for an Instagram shot. So this is the before, and we'll make it look like this. So let's jump into it. We'll open the develop module, and first thing we'll do is we'll do a 1:1 crop. Now that's the Instagram standard, and then we'll mess with the white balance here. So as you can see, what I'm going to do is kind of monkey with the temperature of it. I don't want it to be too warm, but I definitely don't want it to be too cold either. So I think right here works out pretty well. Next, I'm going to take a little bit of magenta into the image, around +12, not a whole lot, and then we'll go ahead and brighten the image up a little bit, and we'll make it almost an entire stop brighter because I underexposed it to retain as much detail in the clouds as I could. Next, we will add some contrast, and I think that works out pretty well for us. Highlights, I'm actually going to drop them down on this one. I don't normally drop my highlights this much. This is almost 100%. You know, we're down to -89, and you know, for me this one works because it's a washed out sky, so it honestly keeps it in there as much detail as I can. I'm going to boost the shadows. I don't normally boost my shadows this much either, but what I'm actually going to do is add a lot of contrast in the tone curve later, so I just want to preemptively add some shadows into this image. And then I'm going to take the blacks, which I accidentally boosted here, and I'm going to bring those down just to add more contrast without adding a lot of brightness to those highlights. And I think -30 is going to work out great. Next, we'll add some vibrance to this image. Actually, you know what? Let's add some whites first. We'll just brighten the whites up. That looks good. And now we'll go down here and we'll add in some of the vibrance. We'll add the vibrance. I think +30 looks good, and then we'll desaturate the image to -5. The next thing I'm going to do is something I've just started kind of recently doing with these images, and that is messing with the camera calibration, which actually makes it hard if you want to make this into a preset. Your images would all have to have the same color tones and everything to make the preset work for a lot of different things, but for this I have a lot of images that are all kind of the same, so I will make a preset out of it anyway. And I'm going to change the greens kind of more towards the blues. I'm not going to touch the saturation. As you can see, I added some green into the shadows as well, just because there's a lot of green going on in the image. And then I took the blues and I just kind of subtracted them out just a touch. Next, I'm going to mess with the HSL here. I'm going to take my reds. I'm going to find a spot that I kind of like. I don't think going more towards the orange with the reds is going to be the way to go. I think I'm going to take them more towards red. That might be too much. Let's come back a little bit here. Perfect. I kind of like where that looks. Oranges, I'm going to take them, and I think I want to go more towards the orange, so -9. And then with my yellows, I don't want them towards the greens so much, so what I'm going to do is reset it and just leave it be. My greens, I'm actually going to take the greens, and I think I'm going to push them more towards aqua. Yeah, you know, aqua is going to kind of give me a bit more of a colder feel to it. Even though it was a hot day, I think the atmosphere kind of warrants going more towards a cold sort of atmosphere in this image. It'll just make it look a little bit more epic, which is the whole purpose of this video anyway. Next, we will play with our aquas in this image, and we'll move them more towards the blue, which really all that's going to do is kind of take those shadows and a little bit of those darker greens for me and make them a little bit bluer toned, kind of more of a foresty green. And the blues I'm also going to mess with here. I'm going to boost those. There's no magentas in the image, so I'm not going to touch those, or purples. Reds, I can either desaturate it and be kind of selective, or I can overly saturate it and make it look fake. I think I'm going to desaturate it some here, somewhere in the range of like minus 32, I think. Looks good. It's not too desaturated. Oranges, I am also going to boost that, maybe. Let's see. How does that look? Yeah, you know what? I am. I'm going to boost the orange saturation up a little bit, just to kind of give it a little bit more punch. I'm also going to, let's see, do I want to desaturate this? Yeah. You know, I'm going to desaturate the yellows just a touch, to -5, I think. For my greens, I actually want to saturate my greens, so I'm going to add 15 of that. Aquas, I'm going to pull those up too, just to kind of add a little bit more cold tone to it. And I'm going to actually readjust my greens now, because I think that's a little too much just on the aqua, and I'm going to pull that back some so that it looks more balanced. And you can see my before and after here. I kind of need to do a little bit more work in it. So we will pull down the blue, because there's not a whole lot of blue in that original image. Next, I'm going to actually monkey with the illuminance here. I don't do this all that often, but because a lot of the colors that I want are in just the rocks and in the buildings themselves, rather than messing with a brush tool and trying to do that all by hand, it'll be just easier to brighten it up with the luminance tool. So here you go. I'm going to take the orange, and I'm going to go to +50, works the best. And next, let's go ahead and monkey around with the yellows. Yeah, I'm going to brighten the yellows up too. As you can see on the original image and where we are now, we still have a little bit of a ways to go. So let's go ahead into the split toning. Now, normally you can add a warmth into the highlights, you know, like a red or an orange. But if you hold your Alt or Option, you can actually see 100% saturation on it, and then actually you can slide the slider until you find something you want. So, like I said, normally I would add some warmth to the highlights, but because I want this image to be more cinematic, and I don't want a lot of warmth in the sky itself, because they're clouds, I'm going to actually go blue into the highlights, and that'll add in some neutrality to my grays and get rid of some of that yellow. So when I add some saturation into it now, you know, not a ton. If I go too much, it's too blue. I'm kind of looking more or less just to neutralize my image. So I think +4 takes out enough of the yellow, as you can see, and makes the grays just a natural kind of gray image. Next, I'm actually going to add, I think, some greenish warmth to the shadows, which I know kind of contradicts a little bit of what we did in the HSL, but you'll see why here in a minute. They won't be overtly noticeable, but I do want to add a little bit more greenish yellow to them, the overall shadows. And we'll saturate that up a little bit. Too far, pulling it back, I'm going to probably go right around, I think like 14 is probably going to be where I end up. So before and after, you kind of see this starting to get like a filmy look, but that's because the balance hasn't been touched yet. So what we'll do is we'll adjust the balance. Too much one way gives you too much shadow, too much the other way gives you too much highlight. I'm going to kind of go split the difference here. I think right around maybe 50, 60-ish will kind of give me what I'm looking for out of it. I kind of like 57. Yeah, that looks good. And as again, the before and after the split toning, you can see the colors just look a lot more balanced as a result of that. Is there anything else I want to do in here with the luminance? You know, probably not right now. So we'll close that. Tone curve, this is where the magic's going to start to happen in terms of that kind of like epic landscape look. We will add a fade. Right now that's not a lot of fade. We can adjust it more later. And let's try and add some more dark to those shadows, kind of really draw those down and boost the highlights a little bit here. Pull back on the shadows and the midtones as well. And for now, we'll wash out the highlights. I might pull it back. I know the final image has it differently, but you know, for right now, this is where we'll start. And yeah, I mean, we're getting there. I still got to add, you know, a vignette to this image to really kind of make it look really grandiose and epic. So we'll do that. We'll do that now. We'll drop a vignette in. I don't normally do my vignettes with this effects tool, but in this image, I actually think it works better. Normally, what I do is a custom one with the radial filter, but right now, I don't think so. So we'll monkey. We can do a little bit more with the highlights. I can either drop them or not. But I think actually what I'll end up doing here as we go through is I'm actually going to do it is to mess with the tone curve some more, because if I drop the highlights here, you can see I don't want it to be totally flattened. I still like the highlights where they were, and the contrast seems okay. So what I'll do is I'll fix the tone curve up a little bit more, and actually what I'll do is I will pull the highlights down on the tone curve so they're not blowing out, and I will not wash them out with the upper aspect of the highlights. I'll leave that where it originally was. And then we'll come back into the HSL because I kind of want to do a little bit more with the luminance here. I'm going to pull the yellows and the oranges around to get to where I like it. And you know what? That looks better. There's still quite a bit of saturation in there, but that's okay. It's not going to be perfect compared to my original image. Every time you do an edit, things change a little bit. So I think with where it is right now, I kind of like where it's going. We can do some more with the oranges. And just to add a little bit more punch to this image, let's go ahead and add a brush tool now. We will pull up, I think we'll pull up the highlights, just because I want to accentuate some of these brights. And so you can see I'm just kind of painting on the rocks here, a little bit under that fog and cloud, right around the top of that mountain, and just a touch on some of the darkest aspects of the buildings. And there you go. Now you kind of can see we've added a lot of this drama to the image. So I really like that, actually. That looks pretty good. There's probably not a whole lot more that I would do with this image, honestly. Before and after, we're pretty close. I might pull up the fade here just a little bit more. Is that too much? Yeah, let's move the midtone, or the shadows, not the midtones, over and then play with the fade a little bit more. And actually right there, I kind of like how that looks. Just minor adjustments here until I kind of have a look that I'm going for. Shadows, I'm actually going to probably pull up just a little bit there. Back to neutral, or back to line level to where they were. So, as you can see, that is the image and how you make it epic. Now, you can take that one step farther. You can actually, if you have a lot of images from your series of images from your shoot that are all similar in color tone and lighting, you can actually save that as a preset, so that way you can just go ahead and apply it to all of your images and then make adjustments as you need. That's what I had done with this image, and it's kind of what I would recommend doing. So there you have it. That is your tutorial for today. Moving forward, though, with this channel, real quick, I just kind of want to give a shout out. I tried doing a blog thing. That didn't really work out. It didn't get any views. All the views were on myself. So I think what I'm going to do is, people seem to like these tutorial videos. They like the gear review videos. So what I will do is, I'm going to focus more on quality of video versus quantity of video. I think moving forward, if I come up with a tutorial that I like, or something that I think will benefit a beginner, or somebody just looking for something a little bit more advanced, then I think that's what I'll do. This video is really geared towards a beginner, somebody who's trying to define their style, somebody who's looking to get kind of a similar look to those epic landscapes you might see on Instagram. but not really sure how you get to it. I only used Lightroom in this. That's why it's really geared towards a beginner. We didn't do anything super advanced. It was just slider work and a little bit of brush work. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This weekend, be sure to check out a gear review video on this travel tripod, as well as the video. Actually, you know what? I'll do the tripod and the camera bag that I used in Italy all in the same video, because really they kind of go hand in hand and together, even though they're not from the same company. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to smash that subscribe and smash that like button, share it to all your friends and family, and I'll catch you all next time.